let's stick to the script. First, Gary, I just want to thank you personally and directly for the rich and rewarding career that you gave me. You gave me my first opportunity in the school. I was a non-traditional doctoral student. Somehow you saw something in me, and I'm just forever grateful for that. As I look around this room, I see some of my favorite people in the whole world, and I hadn't seen you in a while, and I see you today because we're all here to celebrate Gary and what he means to us. Also, if I reflect on the students of our school, certainly the productiveness of our faculty, the creativity of our staff over the past 25 years, we all owe a debt of gratitude to you. You directly hired many of us from our diverse pathways in life. You valued our varied interests. You encouraged our distinct contributions. You recognized our common commitment to social justice, and you inspired us to find our own pathways to expand it. Your visionary leadership and your creative action built this school into what I came to see as really the most community engaged and complex unit in the university. You did that. Whether they know it or not, everyone who's a part of the school, and probably everyone who will ever be a part of the school, also owes you a debt of gratitude for the foundation you built, again, for the structures that will continue to outlive many of us. I reflect on my 3 years as director, and I am amazed that you were director for 15 years. That is endurance. Also, when I served as director of the school, I really was able to luxuriate in the opportunities I had every day to talk about the accomplishments of our faculty, to share the values and the value of social work, to look at, again, the processes that our staff created, the incredible things that our students were able to achieve, and to see that over decades. During the aftermath of the Nassar revelations, I had several opportunities to represent the school throughout the university, to have a chance to talk about what social work could do, how we could help our community really heal and help change the university. And in those moments, Gary, I always reflected on what I saw you do in prior years. I remember the first times I saw you interact with people outside our school, your confidence in social work as a profession to make a difference, your ability to communicate that to people directly, your effectiveness in following through on the commitments that you made to support other people was not only inspirational to me, but it was also really a profound and deeply enduring example for me. I know I'm not alone in my appreciation for your mentoring and your modeling. At one of the college chairs and directors meetings, after I'd spent several meetings going on about macro and clinical social work, our expanding research footprint, again, the processes and the structures that our staff created, the amazing contributions of our students, and I think I was kind of effective in communicating that because who's the chair of another unit, turned to me and said, he was gifted with understatement, but he said, as director of the School of Social Work, you have quite a large portfolio. Yeah, that's true. And on my good days, I would say, thanks, Gary. For challenging days, I'd say, thanks, Gary. There's really much more I could say about your personal warmth, your professional skills and abilities, your networking, your resource gathering, your excellent administrative decision making, not just when you hired us all, but your unwavering commitment really to the best of social work. So Gary, I have to end this, so let me just offer you a sincere wish for a wonderful retirement. You certainly earned it, and you certainly deserve it. For all the lives you've touched, your legacy is absolutely assured. Thank you and congratulations.
I'm so happy to be able to be here with our colleagues, your friends, your family, to celebrate all of your accomplishments. I've been with the School of Social Work for 16 years. I'm going to start with talking about a mid-career move that I made when I moved back home to Michigan. 23 years ago, I started a job at St. Vincent Catholic Charities. And on my first day of work, the executive director said, "We have a meeting today with Gary Anderson and Dave Naggs. You are going to manage this collaboration." Little did I know what would come from that for me. Thank you, Gary, for being a champion of collaboration and community partnerships. From you, we have learned the value of engagement rather than competition, and always recognizing that investing and working together advances and accelerates work around important causes. Whether that be a child welfare training grant that is opportunity for all of the Michigan Schools of Social Work, or joining with other Children's Bureau recruitment and retention grantees to form the National Child Welfare Workforce Institute. We call that NICWE. We've had 15 years of really innovative success under your leadership. I wish those colleagues across the country that value and respect your work could be here with us today too. I also, when we talk about collaboration and community partnership, would be remiss to not talk about your commitment to social work field education and investing in and supporting the work of community agencies that's advanced our profession and recognition of the School of Social Work as a committed and responsive partner. Also, thank you, Gary, for being a champion for the advancement of the child welfare field. Your commitment to the child welfare workforce is evident in decades of projects that assure that child welfare workers have access to high-quality training and professional development. You have mentored, coached, and aligned the efforts of deans and directors of schools of social work across the country as they form responsive partnerships with public and tribal child welfare organization leaders. You have led efforts to assure curriculums in schools of social work across our country are innovative, and that child welfare workers, many of whom will be the next generation of leadership in social work and child welfare, are well prepared for the challenges ahead. You have championshiped kinship care and campus-based supports for students who, with lived experience in the child welfare and related systems. Your legacy includes the ripple effects of our community programs. Thank you, Gary, for being a champion for staff and faculty and the School of Social Work. The growth of the School of Social Work under your leadership cannot be unrecognized. Forward thinking about the profession, distance education, and emerging needs have led to a statewide presence for our school. Your most recent commitment to supporting the advancement of the school's macro social work concentration will also have ripple effects in future leadership. And look around at those assembled here today that you brought to this school. You nurtured, helped them build careers, that advance our profession. I know I speak for my colleagues that we are ever grateful for all you've done for us. Thank you, Gary, for being a champion of our students and our mission to prepare students for practice. As I've come to know you over the years, it's clear that you love teaching and being in the classroom above most other roles. Any of our students that have had the privilege of being in your classes, or in the classes that you teach, have had a great role model that is ever present and responsive to their needs. You led by example as one of the first mentors of the FAME program. Your steadfast commitment to your mentee is admirable, and no doubt has had a significant impact, not just on Wesley, but on you. Your creative and sensitive approach to supporting and mentoring of international students is also deserving of recognition. Personally, I'm appreciative to have had you as a community partner, our director, supervisor, a mentor, and a friend. And on behalf of my colleagues and our student body, let me say thank you for a good job, Will. We will miss your daily presence, but know that we remain committed to assuring that your work continues. Thank you, and enjoy retirement and time with and the time you've earned with your beautiful family.
I just had a couple of comments to make. Most of my thoughts have been said by many people before, so there's not too much new to say. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was in the 15 years that you were director, your leadership really moved us forward. We became bigger, we became more complete in terms of the types of programs that we offered. And it all stemmed from your sense that if we didn't move forward, we'd fall back. And it was that sense of always needing to look ahead, to see what's out there in front of us, that was, I think, so important and so inspirational in the work that we did. I'm not one who would put the words administration and fun together. Many of you who serve in administrative roles probably had that same thought. It's not fun. But during those 15 years, during the time that I had a chance to serve on the administrative team with Joanne and Rena, it was fun. It was absolutely fun. And it was fun because of the leadership that you brought us. So now, excuse me. Now as you've got your next step ahead, there are some unknowns there. I wish you well in sorting that out. I'm getting close to that stage myself, and I'm going to look to you for example. I just know that the world that you encounter in these next few years will be better for your presence. I know that you will take on roles that will impact people, and that impact will be felt by all of those around you. Gary, thank you for all that you've done. Godspeed.
It is hard to sum up Gary's work over the 25 years he has been with Michigan State. It's impossible to be exhaustive, and we would literally be here the entire day. I know you don't want to sit through that, so I'm going to spare you. However, I would like to share some of what he has meant to the school. Today we express our gratitude for Gary's contributions to the school, where he was director for 15 years and a faculty member for an additional 10. We also want to recognize the ripple effect of his work in the broader context of child welfare nationally. The impact of his research, his mentorship of students and faculty pursuing careers in this critical field, and his collaborative initiatives have collectively worked towards creating a more compassionate, informed, and responsive child welfare system. Creating systems change in child welfare is no small feat. Gary's work has had an impact at multiple levels. Nationally, he is supporting the growth, longevity, and retention of the child welfare workforce through the National Child Welfare Workforce Institute. As leader of university partnerships, he's contributed to the development of traineeships and programming that has impacted thousands of social work students. This work appears in a co-edited book published in 2022 entitled Strategic Child Welfare Agency University Partnerships to Advance Workforce Development. Gary is also recognized as a statewide leader, especially for his role in bringing together colleagues from academia and public and private child welfare agencies to support the child welfare workforce. The statewide Child Welfare Collaborative exists because of his commitment to bringing people together with the aim of improving services for families and children in Michigan. Gary has served on the Governor's Task Force on Child Abuse and Neglect and has led the state-funded Child Welfare In-Service Training Grant for over a decade. The field of child welfare has been forever changed by his leadership and dedication. Within the School of Social Work, Dr. Anderson has been a driving force in cultivating a curriculum that prepares social work students to navigate the complexities of child welfare and organizational leadership. His courses have not only imparted theoretical knowledge, but also instilled a deep sense of empathy and cultural competence, essential qualities for those working with diverse populations. He has been part of several key initiatives to train future academics and leaders within the school and across Michigan. Gary led the school at an exciting time of growth and provided many of our faculty opportunities to follow their passions and develop innovative programming. His impact on colleagues and students cannot be overstated. He is a kind, caring, and generous mentor. In many cases, the relationships he has built with his mentees have endured long after a formal mentoring period. His impact on the school has been profound and endures to this day. Gary, your unwavering commitment to children and families, to the child welfare workforce, and to future generations of social workers has left an indelible mark on our school, on MSU, the social work profession, and child welfare. Congratulations on your retirement, Gary. May your future endeavors continue to be guided by the same passion and commitment that have defined your remarkable career. I know we have gifts, so.
It's great to see everyone here today for such a special event. I'm Janet Reynolds Snyder. I'm Executive Director for the Michigan Federation for Children and Families. The whole Federation team is here today, including all our staff, one of our board members, several of our board members, and member agencies. And Gary, it's such a thrill and an honor to be here today with you and your family to celebrate with you on, let's see, everything that's ahead and recognizing the things that are behind at this point. So as we've already heard so many accolades about all your professional accomplishments, we could really speak for hours on, as Ann said, we could speak for hours all day on all of those professional accomplishments and not even scratch the surface. When I was contacted to share a few words, I was asked to go ahead and speak about you and or to you. And so I think I'm going to do a little bit of both. Certainly recognizing just the incredible impact you've had on students, colleagues, universities, just the tremendous field of social work and everything that you have contributed both statewide and nationally. It is amazing accomplishments. You've been a tremendous ambassador for children and families throughout the state of Michigan and nationally, and also your school, also Michigan State University, I know is very, very proud of the way you have represented them throughout all of your work. Your involvement with the Michigan Federation and its members has been astounding, as we got him to serve like almost 20 years on our board of directors. We're so excited and so appreciative to have Gary's expertise. and constant support of the Federation and its work, and for our members who are all private, nonprofit, community-based organizations throughout the state of Michigan providing supports and services in all 83 counties to children and families. So Gary's guidance and expertise and presentations at conferences and participation with important discussions has been absolutely invaluable. You know, and I've heard it before, Gary is everyone's favorite, and that is the truth. And so much so that in 2022, Gary was named the Federation Member Ambassador of the Year. This is an award that is presented to one person a year who embodies the core values of the Federation, that all children deserve excellence, strategic advocacy, partnerships and collaboration, and equity, diversity, and inclusiveness. You personally and professionally throughout your career have put supporting children and their families throughout Michigan as a key priority. So while your professional accomplishments have meant a great deal, there's more. And this is the part of speaking to you. You are one of the most unique people that I have ever met, and I think that everyone in this room would agree. Everyone in this room feels lucky to be in your circle because you have this uncanny way, Gary, of making everyone feel special, making everyone feel valued, included, as if we know what we're doing. And it was our idea, even. And you do it with the humbleness and grace that is just not at all common. And it is an exemplary skill and trait that you have, and so deeply, deeply appreciated. I have been in different, meeting situations where there were complex conversations going on with complex, i.e., difficult, pain in the neck people, and in my opinion. And somehow Gary has this way of listening, and however, diverse the ideas are, being able to pull common threads together and making sense out of something that sometimes I'm thinking, I don't know how we're ever going to get out of this one. And then I'll think, Gary will know how to do this. And that is just such an amazing trait, an amazing skill. I know for myself, coming to the Federation almost 16 years ago, you were one of the very first people who reached out to me and embraced me in my new role, provided the support. And here's the thing, I think that we all recognize at some point, if we're lucky, we have one or two people that we can just lay the cards out with. Like, I can remember a couple of conversations, and in fact, not so long ago, like, Gary, I don't know what to do in this situation. I feel, this way and that way, and I'm not going to divulge a lot because then that tells you what I wasn't feeling good about. But I felt confident to do that because I knew I had trust in you, and I knew that you would give me great advice, which you did, which was very, very helpful. And I know that you have that gift in that way with everyone that you interact with, and that is so important because you as a person just value people wherever they are. And I think that is just something that is so uncommon and so unique, and I thank you for that. The respect that you give everyone is just tremendous and outstanding. So thank you for bringing so much joy and dedication and energy and positivity to the work that we have in front of us that sometimes and oftentimes is not easy. You have made an undeniable difference in so many people's lives. Your positive energy and your kindness are just two of the reasons that people love to work with you. As I said at the beginning, this is about recognizing your accomplishments in you and also being excited for you with your tomorrows. And so this is not goodbye, but it's just see you later. And we can't wait to see what's next for you. Thank you.
So if Janet is one of my new best friends, I want to introduce you to some of my old best friends. And I'm going to give the introduction now and just ask you to come up one after the other. So first we'll hear from Victoria Fitton.
To be able to share today about Gary and to celebrate with him this retirement. As I considered over the last weeks what I wanted to say, my thoughts synthesized finally into two things. It's about knowing Gary and about observing Gary. I hope that makes sense when I do this. He's been to me a teacher, a boss, a mentor, a colleague, and a friend. I've also known him as a husband, a father, a grandfather, a brother, and a crazy sports enthusiast. There's something profound that links these roles. It's his ethical and moral adherence to aspirational ethics. This is hard to do because I can't read. It's his ethical and his moral adherence to aspirational ethical behavior that's also tied to his faith. Too many times we as individuals consider ethics a very dry and dusty, archaic topic of intellectual inquiry. But for Gary, ethics is a living, breathing foundation of his life. There's a long story for me about my interest in ethics, but it led me to take a class that Gary did in continuing education. And it prompted my personal study of medical and social work you know it. But it also opened my eyes to Gary's lifestyle foundation in ethics. So I'd like to spend a minute to kind of talk about those things and how I've seen them and know them in Gary. So I know they're little. I play with little children. This is a heart. The heart represents the importance of human relationships, and we've already heard a lot about that. It's the heart and soul of Gary's life, and he demonstrates this through two other ethical principles: compassion and beneficence. The people in this room reflect that. He's mindfully intentional in supporting relationships. He loves his family unconditionally and sacrificially. He set a tone in the school of collegiality and beneficence. Where he perceives hurt, he enters with compassion. Gary lives out the importance of human relationships. This is a book, sort of, but it represents knowledge, right? And this is a crystal ball. It'll make sense in a second. So the ability to grasp and comprehend what is obscure comes from knowledge, books, and insight. Now, I'm not saying here he uses a crystal ball, but he has a heck of a lot of But he finds creative and unique ways to address problems. We've already heard that. It makes him an excellent journal editor and writer. It makes him a highly successful grant recipient. It also makes him a terrific mentor. When I was struggling with the idea for writing a book and I couldn't figure out how to start with that, Gary processed with me 3 different ways to approach that work. I found that really incredibly helpful. Okay, No, you can't see this very well either, but this is a knot. Doesn't really matter what the knot is made from. To me, this texture is great. And Eric, our son, oldest son, Gary has a tremendous amount of texture in his life. I've observed that as well and feel that. But the knot represents integrity and trustworthiness. Gary is his authentic self. What you see is what you get. He is honest and morally principled, even behind closed doors. That defines him. He's absolutely reliable. He's absolutely trustworthy. He is unfailingly available and present with people. This is a star. I wish you could see these things. They look better at home on my little table. The star represents conscientiousness and pursuit of excellence. I really admire these qualities in Gary. His profound commitment to excellence marks him as an outstanding administrator, educator, mentor, and friend. He demands perfection from himself, which inspires the very best in others. This has certainly been true for me. His commitment to lifelong learning and that pursuit of excellence has also inspired me. This is a lion, if you can't see it. And for me, that represents dignity and worth of the person. I've observed this over and over in Gary's life, and we just heard others speak to that. One thing Gary never does is give advice. I think we feel like it's advice, but when we stop and think about it, it was a process. And we find it for ourselves, which I think is critically important. This is why he's so committed to child welfare, the dignity and the worth of every single child and their family members. This is why he treats Emmy and Anders with the same dignity as adults. Being in Gary's presence automatically makes me feel and see a better version of myself. These are children, a lot of children. I have probably 150 of these at home. I didn't think you needed to see them all. But they've been impacted by Gary's work. The children represent justice. Gary's commitment to social justice can be seen in his way over 40-year career in child welfare. He's worked with tens of millions of dollars in grant money in the field of training workers and impacting the lives of children. Countless children. I find that absolutely an amazing legacy, Gary. You've had a full and brilliant and productive career, and you're going to have a full and productive and wonderful, brilliant life with your grandchildren and your children. And I love you.
McFall, and I know many of you, but some I don't. I was the field director here for many years under Marilyn Flynn and then eventually under Gary. I'm going to do the open mic, so I want some of you to be thinking about what you want to say. But since I'm holding the mic, I get to go first. Fun story. It was a well, first of all, I want to say that Rita and I probably disagree on some dates, and I'm just going to take a little creative license with times and dates here, because it's a good story. Anyway, it was a December Friday in 1998, possibly the last school meeting of the semester, and I had probably, possibly the last school meeting of the semester, and perhaps 25 years ago today. I'm not sure. When you interviewed as the director of the Michigan State University School social position, sometime that morning it began to snow. And by noon, we were in a crippling snowstorm. You were scheduled to fly from Lansing to Detroit to New York City because you were required to teach a licensure review course the following day. We were all panicked. The search committee was like, oh my gosh. We realized that the likelihood of a delay in Lansing and missing the Detroit connection. So Jim and I drove you from Lansing to Detroit Metro Airport. We were acutely aware of our precious cargo. And although I doubted your excitement about coming to Michigan in that moment, I believe that you were the perfect fit for us. The conversation in the car that day just made me so aware of all the humanity that everybody has been talking about all afternoon. You did accept the position. We offered it, and you accepted it. The school was in a progressive place, but also it was a very chaotic place. You met us where we were and became the leader ahead of your time. Your integrity and your measured optimism, and mostly your understanding that great relationships create strong organizations, guided the MSU School of Social Work into the 21st century, literally. As field director, I had more than a few anxious days thinking about what the 600 students were doing out there in field placements across the state. But I always knew you had my back. And that, and the possibilities were endless, believe me. Right, Julie? But I always knew you had my back, and I felt safe, which allowed me to stay calm, support the students, the field instructors, and the liaison faculty in their learning and their doing. You were the foundation of a strong field program, and we could not have survived, much less thrived in the way that we did without you at our helm. Thank you, Gary. I wish you a well-deserved, meaningful, and mostly fun next chapter. Okay, so now we're going to do some quick open mic sessions for anybody who would like to take the mic. Somebody better offer.
But like John, I was struck by Gary's picture. I thought, this should be on our brochures. This says, trust me. I care about you. I'm a deep thinker. You too could come out of this program and look like that. Who wouldn't want that? Really? Not that you don't look amazing now. I want to add that.
Picture,
Oh, yesterday, I'm sure, Gary. But Gary has, as I was a recent retiree, I guess a couple years ago now, it was during COVID, which is just a shitty time to retire, let me say that. So I'm also kind of thinking this is my retirement present. Thank you so much for coming. It was so nice of you. Okay, now I got this back. Thank you, Gary. Gary, I often speak of men, and particularly those who make an impact on me. And they're just good guys. You are a good guy. Just through and through. I felt like when I came into the school, I probably wasn't an academia type. Ooh, not by a long stretch. But I was a good clinician. But I felt that was recognized and supported by Gary and others there that I so much appreciated. And my similar, what you see is what you get. It's never changed. But Gary made me feel like I had great ideas and like I could do this. He handed me over the exam, the licensing exam portion that he did. Ooh, man, I was just like, oh shit, this is big stuff here. How am I going to handle this? But I so appreciated that he thought I could do it. So I think Gary made you rise to whatever that challenge was. And I've always appreciated those folks that believed in me when I often may have, had doubts. So thank you very much, Gary. You're a good guy.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Brock. And I had the pleasure of first meeting Gary in 2004. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to publicly acknowledge and celebrate the impact Gary has had. on the field of social work at MSU, the school, and the lives of too many people to count, including mine and my family's. I now have a house, mortgage paid. We are all here because one young man found a career that ignited his passion. And he observed what was right and broken about a child welfare system. Who here has heard the story that Gary has shared countless times of a foster mom who would bake pie whenever a child came into her placement, so that that child would remember the smell of apples, the warmth of the oven, and feel like they had a temporary home. Gary, you have been our apple pie. The compassion, grace, trust, encouragement, and ruthless take no prisoners competitive spirit that you have brought to all of our lives has been a joy and brought us all to rise to challenges we didn't know that we could face. I say that in that I was hired to develop a continuing education program that we, the School of Social Work, we're going to be the first university to plant a flag in every county. We're going to be the first out of the gate, the best. And sorry to those of you that belong to other universities, no one was going to be able to touch us. And to that end, you provided the resources, support, but most of all, the belief in myself and the team to do and provided the resources for us to be able to do that. Thank you. I proudly emailed that first year the print draft of my debut brochure advertising a series of social work professional development programs. It was our first series. And it was for working with older adults. It's a gerontology social work series, of which one line was supposed to read, social workers working with older adults who often move placements. But it auto-corrected to read, social workers who whore older adults who move to lots of placements. A few hours later, I realized my error and desperately sent an email apologizing and acknowledging I identified it and corrected the error before it went to print, to which she replied, I think the original might have sold more seats. Humble and gracious. I think all of us would agree. He's effusive and ubiquitous. Everyone knows Gary, and Gary knows everyone. Giants in civil rights like Mimi Abramovitz, policymakers and statesmen. However, he doesn't boast about this. He's a Michigander, a Midwesterner, and has been in positions where there are lots of things, lots of places in life he could have gone, and he chose us. He chose Michigan State University. Thank you so much. Let's see, the last thing I wanted to say is, I don't know who else has children, but as my kids would say, Gary has Riz. Whenever someone new would come on board, I would mentor people that when you go into Gary's office, prepare to walk out excited to do something you never thought you were going to do, and that may add twice the work to your workload. I want to thank you for your many contributions to the lives of so many children. We're talking about all the social workers and all the people you've had an impact on, but it's all gonna impact generations of children. And I thank you for the impact you've had on my life, my professional growth, and I'm so deeply grateful for my relationship with you. Thank you.
I'm scratching on my notes because so many things I was going to say have been said, but I'll be quick. Thank you all for being here, and congratulations, Gary. I wanted to say a few words in a way that Gary, I've observed, would often deliver some remarks. And I call it, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So there's three things I want to say about Gary, and Gary would often have three things to say. They are, as you've heard, his steady leadership, his gift of creating a positive culture, and instilling confidence in others. So Gary is a master of steady leadership, and this example comes to mind. During the financial crisis of the Great Recession of 2008, he engaged his national and local networks and school community to guide us through this really challenging time. And he was transparent in communication, sought our input, and he had a vision of a promised future for us. He said, it's going to take years for the nation and the state and MSU and the school to recover to pre-recession financial levels. And you were right. It took several years. But during that downturn, Gary really offered a lot of reassurance to us. He said, keep your eye on the prize. Probably just really what Joanne would say, but Gary would echo that. And you inspired us to stick together. So Gary is a master of steady leadership. The second thing that I want to say is that Gary has a gift of fostering a positive culture. You saw it, you kept us informed, you sought our input, and there was space in our workloads for creativity and innovation. The example I want to give is that Glenn Stutsky once told me that he and Gary had a conversation. Gary said something like, Glenn, I want you to take 10% of your time and just think and be creative. And out of that space, Glenn created and then taught in the summer of 2012 the first online course called Surviving the Coming Zombie Apocalypse, Catastrophes in Human Behavior. Wild title. However, at one point, it was the most popular online class in the world. And yes, it made the school a ton of money. Gary's upbeat attitude is delightful. You always know when he's in the hall because he's whistling or laughing in between conversations that he's having with people along the way. And he and his wife Valerie hosted the most beautiful holiday parties at their house every year. And the food was fabulous. Gary has a gift of fostering a positive culture. The third thing I want to say about Gary, as we've already heard, is that he instills confidence in others. And here's my personal example. Okay. Joanne McFall was field director and my supervisor for 22 years, an associate director for the school, presenter at national conferences, author in peer-reviewed journals, chair of the CSWE Council on Field Education, contributor to the writing of the 2008 EPEX, including a debate, is field education a signature pedagogy or the signature pedagogy? And the signature pedagogy won out. So as her retirement neared, Gary called me into his office and he asked me, about my thoughts of assuming the role as the field director. And I said, Gary, I'm not Joanne. He said, I don't need you to be Joanne. I need you to you and run a quality field program. And I said, I can do that. So I'm grateful to your support and your instilling confidence in me. Thank you for letting me say a few words about Gary. And while we wish you well in your next chapter, we can all carry on your legacy by incorporating your examples of steady leadership, positive culture, and building confidence within our teams. We're going to miss you, and I will miss you. Thank you.
After you retired, right? And Joanne and I had the real privilege of working with Elizabeth and Lauren, and with Nancy and Ann and other people in the school to say, yes, we'd be happy to do this. And no, we wouldn't be so happy to do that. But we have the privilege of presenting a gift to Gary from the school, from his colleagues, from his family, from his friends. And we're going to read to you what this plaque says, and maybe you'd like to come up. Okay. So it is a beautiful framed print that says, in recognition of Dr. Gary Anderson and his many years of service and dedication to Michigan State University, a commemorative tree is planted on the East Lansing campus in his honor. The tree serves as a lasting symbol of immeasurable gratitude for Dr. Anderson's many contributions to the field of social work, his students, colleagues, and the community as a whole. His work and leadership have directly impacted the positive growth of the university. His contributions, leadership, and legacy will continue to inspire and be felt by generations to come. And this tree will be planted, and it will have a plaque on it that will say something like, dedicated to Dr. Gary Anderson for his years of service, from colleagues, friends, and family.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry for my congestion. Went to the doctor and they said I have transitional seasonal sinusitis. What that means is that my nose does not like winter for normal language. I also just want to say that as lovely and glorious this day is, I recognize that in our world today there's a lot of suffering and a lot of pain. And I just hope that we can each in our own small ways advance peace and healing. Also known as World AIDS Day. We think of not only the suffering today, but for generations. And it's so important that it also shapes the way we celebrate, but also remember the work that needs to be done. Thank you so much for being here. I'm in shock and in awe, and I don't know who you're talking about, but it sure is lovely to hear about this person. I can't believe it. So I decided the best thing to do would be to go to ChatGPT to get my speech. So how's that for an old guy? So I went to ChatGPT, they wrote a really beautiful retirement talk. It was in just a few sentences. And it said basically, thank you everybody. We've accomplished a lot together. There's a new beginning coming and a bright future for us all. So I can sit down now having given my AI speech. So thank you again so much for being here. I want to thank Ann Hughes and the school support. It just meant so much all along, and her respectful treatment of the older director has been amazing and remarkable. Thanks to each person who spoke. My goodness, Janet, what an exemplary, inspirational leader to me. Victoria, such a friend and an amazing teacher. I've seen her usually with a suitcase full of toys, so the that you contained yourself to these few toys is absolutely amazing. John Brady, thank you so much. Every semester, every year, every class, I read every student evaluation from classes. And I was absolutely compelled to write thank you notes to so many faculty. And I got tired of writing John thank you notes every semester. I think I just started saying the same ones over and over again. Talk about a legacy, both as a teacher and as a leader of the school. Absolutely remarkable. Cheryl, thank you for your work. I work as college, you'll be happy not to be getting emails from me weekly. That'd be the advantage of retirement. Joanne McFall, say that I never once as a director lost sleep over field education. That was because Joanne always lost sleep over field education with Julie. And wow, to know her and Julie's work with her to constantly kind of follow certain procedures to make sure that competencies were met, but with flexibility and individual attention and care and compassion, remarkable leaders. I also want to acknowledge Nancy Gray, and for those who helped make this day possible. It's so special to me. And I just have to say I'm incredibly grateful to Rena Harold for coming out of retirement. Rena, I owe you so much. I've told you that over and over again. It's true, and I know that. And anytime something is reflected about kind of my positive leadership, I know that it also contains a reference to you and your support, your work, your knowledge as well. I don't know if clinicians have found a more gentle word for it, but this stage in the social process is called termination. That may hold the right meaning. This is the end of my formal employment at MSU. In a larger lens, my social work career. My work is stopping. But the termination process does include some summarization and some evaluation and looking back for me over 45 years. And for that, I'm going to take 45, no, I can take 45. I'm devoting 45 seconds to each of those years. I'm going to tell you some stories that you may not know. I'm going to swear you all to secrecy. Some of this information should not leave this room. In my MSW program, I accepted a scholarship to work for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, called DSS at the time. I needed it. I had no money to pay for my tuition. But with it, I had to promise to work for the department for 2 years, which I did. My fellow MSW students told me in no uncertain terms that my career was over, that it was the end. It was really tragic that at such a young age, I was done. And I went on to work for the department for 3.5 years as a child protective service worker, and I could describe most of those families to you today that I worked with. And I thought it was due to my excellent memory. And in fact, it's due to secondary trauma that's been untreated for a very long time. It was a wonderful experience and laid the foundation for the rest of my career and work. So I learned a lot about poverty and discrimination, about attachment and parenting, the central role of the workforce. I still have a question I haven't been able to solve, and that's how could you be helpful if you didn't care? But if you cared, how could you stay in the work? If you have that answer, please let me know. Coming full circle, in 2009, Jennifer Granholm in her office downtown offered me the chance to be the head of the Department of Human Services. What a trajectory from being a CPS worker. I told her no. I told her that I found the place I'm supposed to be, that I was very happy at Michigan State. And that in fact the goal would be to show how a school of social work can be an ally for families and children and a resource for child welfare in the state of Michigan. Responding to every request as a CPS worker to talk about child abuse and neglect, I realized that I loved teaching. I went to the University of Chicago for my doctorate, followed my wife to New Jersey, and had the good fortune to begin as an assistant professor at Hunter College School of Social Work in New York City. I was 29 years old as the assistant professor. I did everything I could to look older. I failed. I just want you to know this is no longer a problem. I have effectively looked older for a long time now. In fact, there was one time I told a group of students that my first year field placement instructor was Jane Addams. And then my placement was at Hull House. And it was a great place to learn as a young social worker. Thank you for laughing. The class did not laugh. I just wanted to know, for the record, Jane Addams died in 1935. Under College School of Social Work was a 12-story building on 79th Street between Lexington and Park Avenue, 3 blocks from Central Park. Can you imagine a guy from Grand Rapids walking up 5th Avenue every day to go to work? It was remarkable. One of those days, in my 15th year, I walked on the 7th floor of the building, and there on a cork bulletin board was something that doesn't exist much anymore, was a 1-page announcement that there was an opening for directorship at Michigan State University. So you can imagine, the 7th floor, remote hallway, bulletin board, and I saved it. Because in fact, I took it down so no one else could. And that was really, I don't know why I thought everybody was going to applaud. And you can see the tack mark still in the page. And on the bottom I wrote in Rita Harold's phone number. So just to Rita, so you know how I can find you. And so the process began as described. The remote interview, which at the time was synchronous, but there was a delay. Never tell a joke when there's a delay. So I would tell a joke and for 4 seconds no one would budge. I thought, oh Gary, why did you try that? And then everyone would laugh. Well, I had moved on to the next part of my talk. I came to school and visited, and I saved from that too the brochure advertising my visit to campus. And so I just want to know, if I had been the director, it would have never been on blue paper. My thanks to the search committee for their good judgment. The faculty at Hunter could not believe that I would leave New York City. They did not think that there'd be anything in the Midwest for me or for anybody else for that matter. I began the directorship of the school in August of 1998, had the privilege of serving for 15 years and then 10 years as a faculty member. These past 25 years have been full of adventures and included so many people in this room. You know, at some risk, I'm going to mention some people's names. If I don't mention your name, it just means that there's a story yet to tell and share at another time and place. With Susan M. Finger and Rob Henry from MSU Development, we have some development folks here today. I'm grateful for their attendance. We founded the first formal foster care youth program at a Michigan college and university. It was inspired by John Ceda and later by Angelique Day. As the first mentor in the program, I had the privilege of getting to know Wesley Patton. 15 years later, Wesley and I are still good friends and have mutual support and cheering for MSU basketball all the time. With Robert Little, who was Malcolm X's brother, we founded the Kinship Care Resource Center. He came to my office one day and announced that the school had gained $400,000 from the Michigan legislature. I did not know that we had asked for $400,000 from the Michigan legislature. It turns out that his son-in-law was a state senator who asked for the $400,000 on our behalf. So we had the chance to begin that Kinship Center. Assistant Professor Teresa Jones was the first director. But the leadership challenge wasn't managing that $400,000. It was what happened when the money went away. And thanks to many good staff people and hard-working folks, we kept it going so that someday there would be a foundation when the world once again rediscovered the importance of kinship care. I also vividly remember conversations with Lieutenant Governor Connie Binsfield as we created the Chance at Childhood program. The crucial support from people like Kim Steed and others, and now Joe and Delaney and Kim, have made that such an amazing and unique legacy for MSU. With Linda Lawrence leading the way, we had a year of conversations with the veterinary hospitals about the human-animal bond. I was so tired of talking about this. We all agreed animals are important. Humans need help. I said, that's it, I've had it. Enough of this. So the school will pay for 3 months of a social worker to come to the hospitals. And then you tell me whether or not they had a role. And I'll tell you whether we think there was a role. Linda Lawrence was our pioneer. She went to the vet hospitals. And 4 hours after she was there, the veterinary hospital called the school and said, we want more social workers. It was just a remarkable, fun experience. I once received an email from a student in Flint letting me know how hard it was for her to drive to East Lansing for class after a full day of work. We started a Flint program. And I also remember Mary Barron and her dedicated leadership, what a special part of our lives that she was, and then for those who went on to lead in Flint, what a difference that made. With Sue Bowden, we reached out to Oakland University, began an MSW program there that was heralded at Cranbrook Hall in a ceremony with the president of MSU and the president of Oakland University thanking the School of Social Work for coming to Oakland. With Friends, we also expanded to Saginaw, all while the statewide blended program really set a national model for quality hybrid education. Thanks again to people like Paul and Glenn, and Tina and Joanne, the field team, and others that made that possible. Glenn's zombie course has already been mentioned. Wow, what a blast. We actually were talking to the folks at The Walking Dead. Can you believe it? You know, who gets to do that? We almost went to Comic-Con. You know, how cool, that's what I remember, you know. It wasn't all the academics. I almost went to Comic-Con. And anticipating social work licensure, we started the continuing education program with Michelle. You know, what a testimony to your hard work and those who followed you as well. Meanwhile, faculty were doing research, field education was supporting hundreds of students, the advisors are working, excellent teaching was encouraged. With amazing colleagues, we had these remarkable federal projects, and there's too many people to list, but people like Cheryl and Gretchen and Joanne and Suzanne Cross, Elizabeth Smith, Monica, Tina, I think Tina, happy birthday is in order today, and John Brady and Rosemary Jackson, so many others, and then the state grants, so expertly led by Katie Prout. I took all the credit, she did all the work. There are a lot more adventures, I can't identify them all. I do have to say that I recognize that that a lot of what I was able to experience was my privilege, not based on earned merit. There were advantages that I've had just because of my identities and life. They were unearned. Mostly, I'm aware of what I could have done and maybe should have done, and aware of the gap between my Christian and social work values and my actual performance. So sitting here today and listening to these kind words is therapeutic and so kind and generous of all of you. Let me conclude by just expressing that the key to this, as people have noted, is relationships. I've been fortunate to have remarkable ones. I hope many will be able to continue. I'm grateful to Michigan State University, this big university. It's so flawed. It's so wonderful. The students, the faculty, there's so many things about MSU that I love. I certainly, again, it's not too dignified, but I bleed green. You know, it's a great place. It's been a wonderful place for me. The College of Social Science, my feeling is a little bit more mixed. But still some good people along the way. I'm grateful to our faculty, such a collection of dedicated people, and a special shout out to the OCL folks who are here and for the advisory board. Wow, what a great group of colleagues, and what a great place to be involved these last years for me. My thanks to the staff of this school who have been consistently helpful and have forgiven me hundreds of times. When you think back on that letter that then I pulled off the wall at Hunter, realized that somebody somewhere opened a letter. Someone looked at that letter and wrote on it, "Post." They took it to the bulletin board and they stuck it up there. If it hadn't been for a staff member at Hunter College, so much of this would have not happened. So I just would remind each of us that we have a valuable role. I'm grateful so much to our students. Wow, they've taught me more than I've taught them. I want to thank my doctoral student, Joanna, who's here. And I'm in absolute awe at our PhD graduates who've come today, and many others. I think of Scott Berlin, I think of Carolyn and Josh, and Liz Sharda. My goodness, such a great group. I had the privilege of working with on at least 25 doctoral committees, and these are all remarkable people. And for the school's alumni, many of whom are here as well. I just have to say I'm grateful for our community partners. I've learned so much from you, and I'm absolutely in shock that they've left their agencies and saving the world to be here today. I'm so grateful for Brian Filson from Highfields, Elizabeth Carey from Stark Commonwealth, Rachel here from Samaritas, and please tell Kevin happy birthday for me. I think of all the support that people have provided to us from the community. I'm grateful for my friends, some lifelong, those who are here, provide great comfort, encouragement, and fellowship. I want to acknowledge God's faithfulness in my life, guidance, and mercy to me as well. Finally, I want to thank my family. If I can. My amazing siblings, Linda's here with her husband Mark, and Eric with Kim. Who knew that we would mean so much to each other our whole lives? I wish my wife Valerie was here beside me. He was always my best critic, consultant, counselor, and cheerleader. Grief is such a powerful force. Gratitude, love, and sadness all mixed together. And I have a number of friends here who have unfortunately shared that same experience. I think of Connie and Jody and Ruben and Jim and Rose and Jan and others who've here. And this fellowship of the bereaved is really so sad and so wonderful at the same time. Both of my parents and my wife died while I was at MSU. I can't think of a more supportive community when we go through such tremendous losses. There are not sufficient words to describe my beautiful daughters on the inside and the outside. I thank you for your love and your unwavering support, your forgiveness. I took you from a beautiful life in New Jersey and brought you to Michigan where you had to learn a new culture and a new language. It's called pop, not soda. And I'm deeply grateful for Tate and James and my incredible grandchildren, Anders and Emmy, who I'm excited to see more of in 2024. They're truly my joy. My fellow MSW students were wrong. My career did not end because I worked in public child welfare, and my faculty colleagues at Hunter were wrong. I didn't come to a wasteland. I came to a beautiful country with amazing colleagues and people and a wonderful community here. ChatGPT got it right. Thank you. We accomplished a lot together. This is just the beginning. The future is bright. I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you for celebrating with me today. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Lauren. I'm Gary's oldest daughter, or as more importantly, the conveyor of the grandchildren. So thank you for being here with us and sharing your love for the man who we've loved all our lives. So I thought I'd share some other traits of Gary that you might not be familiar with in his personal life. For example, did you know that he loves history and he wanted to be a history teacher but his father told him that there was no money and no jobs in history. So he went into social work and became a social worker where there's lots of money. And as I'm sure is true with many people in this room, he was a very overqualified father in terms of taking care and understanding and loving his children. Although our My Little Ponies were often organized in Roman legions and developing shield walls against the Barbie Visigoths, so the history knowledge came in handy. And unsurprisingly, he is also a beloved grandpa. The nap time, is being a little jeopardized at the moment. So, and grandchildren will actually prefer him to watching TV. So parents know. He was a devoted caretaker and husband to our mom for many, many years. And you might not know it because he's so patient and kind and positive, but he does get upset sometimes too. Systemic injustice, child endangerment, and when MSU basketball blows a lead. We love Dad so much that when my husband and I became fully remote workers, we were like, we will move to Michigan and be near Grandpa. And we're so glad that he's had such wonderful people in his work life as well to celebrate with him now. So we love you. Pass to my sister.
I echo everything Lauren said. We're so grateful for you all being here. You all feel like our family, very much. You've seen me since I was 7 years old. And I was very hesitant to say something because, like my mom, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I see Michelle crying and I'm sobbing over here. And so please bear with me. And because of that, I decided I would tell a quick story instead. When I was in 7th grade, my dad volunteered to be, I can't look at him, this is really tricky. I'm going this way. He volunteered to be a career speaker for Career Day. There were 3 parents who volunteered to do this. The first parent was a dentist. He came in and he had a model of a mouth and he had all these different tools that we could use, and we were all thinking this was the coolest. The second parent was an interior designer. She had huge posters that were colorful and textiles that she could pass around the room. We loved it. And then my dad had nothing. And he was going last. I was very nervous. What would my teachers think? What would my friends think? Halfway through his speech, from the back we heard some sniffing. I realized that he had brought my teachers to tears. He was so motivational that they all were crying. After he finished, they got up to the front of the class and they said to us, "So what do you all want to be when you grow up?" Almost all of them said that they wanted to be a social worker, like my dad. I was shocked. This guy, who runs alongside the soccer field yelling at me, was the guy who inspired my whole class. I was just beginning to realize what everybody already knew, and that is that he's exceptional. Lauren shared some things that you might not have known, but there are also some things that we didn't know that you all knew. We didn't realize when we were younger that it was rare to have a dad who was so motivational and so inspirational that he would touch generations. We didn't realize that it was rare and exceptional to have a dad that gifted you a book that he wrote for Christmas and dedicated it to you. We didn't realize that it was rare for someone's parent to love their coworkers, love the people that they work with and the work that they do, and to consider their friends and everyone who they work with family. We are so, so proud of you. We all know that you are truly exceptional. Mom would be very proud. I can't keep going. We are looking forward to your next chapter in life, and I do know that there are so many more exciting things to come, like a career day for Anders and Emmy.
Anybody else have something burning they'd like to say? We could maybe do one more and then move forward. Anybody else? Okay, Rena.